Yaldabaoth, or the demiurge. What was this mythological creature, entity, or being that is often described as a lesser ignorant evil god, or a ignorant idiot god, or even as an ignorant lesser just god that is still learning? Now, within Gnostic Christianity, this being's origin stories and theology is diverse and has different names such as Yaldabaoth, Yaldabaoth, Samael, Suckless, and even as Sabaoth, and is often identified as Yahweh, the God of the Jews, and even as the devil or as Satan. Now, it's important to note that not all Gnostic Christians back in the ancient past and today modern Gnostic Christian-wise do not accept or believe in a demiurgos or demiurge or an evil creator god such as Yaldabaoth, but rather view it as symbolic for one's own ego, being out of balance, one's own ignorance of self, ignorance of the spirit, and ignorance of God, being out of balance with the spirit, being out of balance with God and nature. It's also one wanting to rule over others, one wanting to rule over material, one wanting to rule over the flesh, and one wanting to be a god and rule over others. It's also symbolic for one's own lack of control and one's own irrational desires and being controlled by them. Now, Yaldabaoth is often depicted as a lion-headed serpent or a lion-headed dragon, and rarely sometimes as a pig-headed serpent. Now, the term demiurge comes from the Greek philosophical word demiurgos, meaning artisan or meaning craftsman, and would later evolve in meaning producer and creator. Now, philosophical-wise, the demiurgos applied to a lesser god or lesser gods that in turn fashioned or created the material world, and in turn some even believe that the demiurgos in turn enacted the will of the monad, the true high god. Now, within Gnostic Christianity, the demiurge or Yaldabaoth is viewed as a lesser evil god and creator of the material world and the earth, and sometimes just the material earth, as the universe itself was already there and this being who was an idiot just simply took credit for it. Now, within Gnostic Christian theology, most Gnostic Christian theologies, Yaldabaoth is considered an accidental creation or an accidental birth, or even as an aborted fetus by his mother Sophia, or a lesser emanation of Sophia. Sophia in Gnostic Christian theology is considered to be the Holy Spirit, a feminine aspect of God or a feminine aspect of God's wisdom, and also as a feminine aspect of Christ, and even the bride and consort of Christ, and even as an aeon or angelic being. After the accidental creation of Yaldabaoth, he in turn escapes from the divine realm and fashions the material realm out of a stolen divinity from his mother or the high realm as a cheap copy of the high realm of Paroma. And in other cases, his mother is shameful and fearful of her creation and in turn tries to hide it in the lower realms from the aeons above. And in turn, in this lower realm, the demiurge creates the material realm, and in other cases he escapes from this realm and in turn fashions the material realm with stolen divinity and creates humans in order to be worshipped, and created divine angels to also serve him and to help him with his creation. Many Gnostic Christians believe that this world was totally corrupt and evil, and thus it was not created by a just, loving, perfect God, but rather by this Yaldabaoth or demiurge figure and his evil archons or evil angels. And in turn, these archons and Yaldabaoth was responsible for the corruption in this world, and in turn these evil beings would feed off our negative emotions and would be the puppet masters behind the evil actions of politicians. Now, not all Gnostic Christians believe that this world was created by the demiurge, but rather this demiurge figure took credit for it. Now, some Gnostic Christians believe that this demiurge figure was really extremely just and thus was also vengeful, but he was still learning, so he wasn't actually evil, was just rather ignorant, and thus tried to help Christ to redeem himself. This was within Valentinian Gnostic Christianity. Now, within Gnostic Christianity, the origins and role of the demiurge or Yaldabaoth would also vary. Now, within Gnostic Christianity, Humans were created in order to be mindless slaves or subservient beings to worship this evil creator god, and in turn he accidentally gifted us his stolen shredded divinity, who was in turn tricked by the true high god or by Christ or by the aeons, and in turn breathed in the stolen shredded divinity into us humans, so that way us humans could be redeemed and returned back to the pleroma. Now, this in turn would be the reason why this evil god would hate us, and in turn would be jealous of us and fearful of us because we were greater than him. And thus, this was the reason why this evil god flooded the earth, because humanity was starting to rise and no longer worship him. Thank you for joining us here on this video discussion on the demiurge or Yaldabaoth. Peace, love and light, and lots of gnosis, and have a lovely day, lovely night, and a lovely afternoon.